Welcome. Happy Friday. I got the new camera. Hold on. Let me change the angle a little bit. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody is having an amazing week. Do I need to move this over a little bit? Ooh, we'll rock out there. I'm just going to move this down a little bit. All right. We are good. As you are joining, please make sure that you like. That's going to help boost the algorithm. Happy Friday. We got a lot to talk about today. We're going to touch on this Dr. Umar situation. I want to learn more about this Mahmoud Khalil situation. We've kind of avoided it until now. Nothing on purpose, but just more so. Yeah, I don't know. We're going to talk about it today, though. And then we got, will Donald Trump overthrow the government and run again in 2028? That's what a lot of people are saying. Actually, Steve Bannon had an interview with Chris Cuomo in which they discussed this, which you may be surprised in what he said, especially, well, depending on what side of which gang you belong to, you may be excited. So we got a little bit on that. We got Donald Trump obviously getting rid of the federal Department of Education. We're going to have to, get your thoughts on that. And the last topic that we'll probably finish off with will be violence abroad. Violence only leads to what? Violence only begets more violence. So the reason why I want to have that conversation is because as I'm looking around and as I'm looking around at what's going on in America, what's going on in the world, what's going on in some of these regions that are at war, it's not sitting right with me. And it's funny, even as like a little kid, I never liked confrontation. I never liked, especially people that I wanted everybody to just get along. You know what I mean? And I'm sure a lot of people were like that, maybe more so when we're younger than when we get older and realize what this world becomes in a lot of ways. But perhaps we should get back to that more childish way of looking at things, because when you look at the cycle of war and when you think about some of the battles or some of the wars that we're engaged with, and when I say where, I'm talking about humanity around the country, it's pretty wild. This is like, forget like decades old beef. Like this is 1,000 years ago. We're still at war over stuff that happened based on claims from thousands of years ago. I don't know. It seems pretty insane. Seems pretty animalistic. Seems pretty it just seems like as humans we should be better. And the more I think about it, I believe that we're going to have to be better, or there's going to be that or else. I don't know when that or else is going to come. Now I got the greasy joints. I don't know when that or else is going to come, but I would assume that it's going to come soon if we keep pushing it and keep pushing it. So you guys may not know exactly what I'm talking about right now, but I promise you we'll get into it. Let me put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Let me send grand rising good people to the chat. Shout out to Steve already in the building. Shout out to my brother Steve. All right, so let's get into it today. I had everything shared and then I had to reset. But we'll start off with just a couple little icebreakers, couple little funny videos, and then we'll get into the meat of the show. And once again, as you are joining, please make sure that you are liking for the algorithm. Let me share the screen with you guys. Boom. Nah, yeah, I know I like there. There we go. Check out this funny video that I saw.
People saying That's another stupid ass thing people say. I caught a cold. Why would you catch a cold? Why don't you just let it go? People saying stupid shit everywhere I go. Like Jerry Seinfeld told me he's gonna build him a new house, and he's gonna build it from the ground up. I said, you know, that'd probably be the best way to start building that house. So you start with the roof, you're gonna run into some trouble. People just say stupid shit all the time. He dead and gone. Now, what the hell does dead and gone mean? Dead and gone. Anybody ever died and stayed? People just say stupid shit. I'm at a funeral, and the preacher said the lady was in a better place, and I'm going, she's in a box. Just stupid shit.
Yo, that's gonna mess me up for the algorithm. I forgot when you start cursing in the first couple minutes of the live. I thought that one was funny. And then I got one more icebreaker to share with y'all. This may not be, well, this is not gonna be seen as funny. But I thought it was an interesting convo. Y'all may want to look it up. I haven't looked it up to determine the validity of it, but it seems pretty interesting. Just stuff that I came across. I'll let y'all know if I didn't do the research. But I wanted to share this because, you know, we talked about Ozempic. We talk about Ozempic from time to time, and just wanted to get your thoughts on it. Just to put it out there. Maybe y'all can help me. Maybe this is just some BS that this gentleman is giving, or maybe there's some validity to it, and it'll help some people make a decision.
They never told you it was venom. I didn't know it was venom. I looked it up. What kind of drug is this? Oh, it's a GLP-1 drug. What the hell does GLP-1 drug mean? Never heard that in my life. Holy crap, it comes from the venom of a lizard?
All right, so I don't know. Is Ozempic reptile venom? Are they not telling us the truth on Ozempic?
I want to ask you, all of you at home, how many of you are convinced that you or your loved ones are overweight and diabetic because you have a Gila monster venom deficiency? And oh my God, God forgot to put enough of that damn Gila monster's venom in your body, and you ran out. Now you're fat and overweight and you're diabetic. So now you need to inject that venom inside your body every week, once a week. This is the insanity you live in. This is the deception you live in. Just because they called it Wegovy and Ozempic and said it was FDA approved, did I go, oh, it must be safe and effective. I don't know why these people's stomachs are being paralyzed and why they say they're going to develop cancer in their thyroid after a year. Really? Go look it up. I didn't know anything about this drug. It didn't even exist when I graduated school. How did I go on platforms like the Diamond and Silk Show the very next week? We bring this up and I'm educating the whole world about this drug.
It's the music, Steve.
And then everybody's calling me, wanting on their shows to talk about, oh my God, it's another drug made by venom.
Well, something to look into. Something to look into. Like I said, sometimes I just come across this stuff. Half the time I want to ask y'all if y'all have heard the same thing. I don't even know, to be totally honest, I don't even know if that'll bother people. You know what I mean? Like all the stuff that is exposed that is in our food, that shouldn't be in our food, that's not food, that we just tolerate it. I don't even know if people will get upset. You know, they'll start researching like, well, is the venom bad? Maybe the venom, who knows? Who knows? So just something for you guys to look into. Let's get into the first topic. What are we going to discuss first? I think we have Trump signing or Trump getting rid of this. He's signing an executive order to get rid of the Board of Education. And actually, hold on, there was another video that I saw that I wanted to share with you guys on this as well. So maybe while this is playing, I'll show that other video, because what they're saying is that with a lot of, I didn't know that the Board of Education was actually, and I found that video, so I'll play that for you as well. But apparently the Board of Education was created in an executive order. I don't know. We'll hear about that. So we have that clip. But we'll start off with the one that you are seeing. Let me just get it in full screen. Boom. All right. So I'm going to be reading some of it because some of it's in words, but some of it'll be actually some of it'll just be writing. I'll read that. But then the main focus on this is a lot of people are asking questions. Why is Trump getting rid of the Department of Education? A lot of people have said that when people say that, I don't like the way Trump's doing it. I get he wants to shrink the government, but why is he just getting rid of the Board of Education or the Department of Education? A lot of people not sure why. Perhaps this will shine some light on it. Perhaps this will shine some light on it. But one thing that I will say, just to preface the entire conversation, is that do we live, maybe let me ask a question. Let me not say it. No statements, questions. Is it because we live in such a society that rewards losing, rewards poor effort, rewards not based on merits, participation, all these different things? Because I would say that we live in the majority of us live in a non-performance based, we live with a non-performance based mindset. Now, there's a lot of people that have jobs where you don't get paid based on your direct performance. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the mindset of the entitlement that comes with, I do not need to perform at any particular standard in order for me to continue being rewarded with a job. And let's look at the video, and then maybe you guys will be on the same page as me, or maybe you'll enlighten me to get on the same page as you.
45 years, the United States spends more money on education by far than any other country, and spends likewise by far more money per pupil than any country, and it's not even close. But yet we rank near the bottom of the list in terms of success.
All right. I'm going to play that part again. Very short, very simple. We are complaining, and this is what you know what's so funny? A lot of the same people that are complaining about the Board of Education or the Department of Education, I got to be very clear in my words. I don't want to confuse anybody. A lot of people complaining about the Department of Education and Trump getting rid of it. Y'all are the same people that complain about the Department of Education not serving our kids, not doing a good job of educating our young kids, developing them in some of their most critical years when it comes to an education that they can apply to be successful in life. A lot of y'all have no problem complaining about these organizations. You complain about their lack of performance. You complain that there's no accountability when it comes to a lot of the education system throughout the country. We make those complaints, but then when somebody comes in and finally says, all right, we're getting rid of it. It's not working. We've tried to mold it. We've tried to change it. We've tried to fix it. We've tried all these other things except trying to get rid of it and give it back to the states. I don't understand that. I really don't understand that. And there's a lot of people that say, well, I would do it a different way. How you do it a different way? How long does it not have to? How long can we keep trying to make something work before we realize, like, yo, this just ain't it? I'm not talking about relationship advice. I'm talking about Donald Trump and the Department of Education. How long do we have to continue trying something? The signs are there. The red flags were there from the beginning. All right. And now it's not getting any better. Matter of fact, it's been getting worse. And the more we invest in it, we're not seeing a return on that investment. You heard Donald Trump say, out of all the money that we put into the Department of Education, why are we coming in these terrible positions? I'm not going to say coming in last, but why are we so far behind when it comes to other countries, when it comes to the development of our children? Why?
The United States spends more money on education by far than any other country, and spends likewise by far more money per pupil than any country, and it's not even close. But yet we rank near the bottom of the list in terms of success.
All right, let me read this. U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order to begin eliminating the federal Department of Education. And I think a lot of the complaints that come with being scared at what happens next. We claim that the department is a big con job last week. The move will disrupt federal funding for K-12 schools and student loans. Congress would need to approve the move, but Democratic support is unlikely.
When President Carter created the Federal Education Department in 1979, it was opposed by members of his own cabinet, as well as the American Federation of Teachers, the New York Times editorial board, and the famed Democrat Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan. History has proven them right, absolutely right. After 45 years, the United States spends more money on education by far than any other country, and spends likewise by far more money per pupil than any country, and it's not even close. But yet we rank near the bottom of the list in terms of success. It's an amazing stat. Those are two stats you don't want. The most money spent per pupil, and you're at the bottom of the list. And that's where we are, like it or not. And we've been there for a long time. 70% of eighth graders are not proficient in either reading or in math. 70%. 40%.
70% of eighth graders are not proficient in reading or math. I did not say that 70% are proficient. And maybe I heard that wrong.
Been there for a long time. 70% of eighth graders are not proficient in either reading or in math.
This is a fail. This is a failure. Matter of fact, and you know what usually happens? See, what usually happens, let's relate it to sports, because y'all know what I always do. You're on a team. Now, the executives are responsible for what players they pick and, what coaches they pick, the entire staff. Okay, the direction of the team. You start losing. What usually happens? Oh, no, we got to start trading these players. The focus is on the players. Trade some players and you're still losing. Focus starts to be like, let's look at some of these coaches. Let's look at this head coach. Head coach may end up getting fired. They're still losing. Let's look at this general manager. So it usually goes from the bottom up instead of the top down. It usually goes from the bottom up. Being in organizations and on teams, I would think that there would be a certain level of appreciation, right? And we always associate Donald Trump with being an elitist, right? Okay, we say he's an elitist. I appreciate Donald Trump realizing, at a certain point, you got to look at the leadership. You can go into a small town, you can go into a big city, you can fire these teachers, you can do this, but when the leadership and the culture is off, when the standards that are created by the people at the top, when the other people are not living up to those standards, eventually you got to look at the leadership. So Donald Trump is actually just getting rid of the leadership, getting rid of the top of the umbrella. You know what I mean? He's, rather than just picking and choosing based on and blaming the teachers, he's getting rid of the Department of Education. He's putting it back in the states. He's localizing it as far as how I'm seeing it. The people at the top who oversee everything, no. We need people that are closer to the states, closer to the cities, I should say, closer to the districts that these people are serving in, these teachers. But maybe I'm saying it wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm seeing it a little bit wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking at it too favorable with this. But if it's not working, if it hasn't been working, if it's not serving the students, then why are you more upset with him getting rid of the Department of Education than you were at it failing our kids? And when a Department of Education fails kids, when you have eighth graders who can't read and write, where do we think that those eighth graders are going to end up? And for all those people that are passionately fighting for the impoverished communities, in impoverished communities, it's even worse. If you take 70% of eighth graders and they can't read or write, or read or do math in a impoverished community, where do you think the majority of those kids are going to end up?
70%. 40% of fourth graders lack even basic reading skills, can't read. Students in our public elementary and middle schools score worse in reading today than when the department opened, by a lot. In Baltimore, 40% of the high schools have 0 students who can do basic mathematics. Not even the very
In Baltimore, 40% of the students, no, 40% of the schools. Wait, what did he just say?
Opened by a lot. In Baltimore, 40% of the high schools have 0 students who can do basic mathematics.
In Baltimore, 40% of the high schools have 0 students that can do basic math. Baltimore. But they got a black mayor, right? They got a black mayor. They got a black mayor, right? It's DEI. So we can't, we got to protect Baltimore. We can't call out their leadership because then we'd be calling out the leadership of a black man and a black man who's going through different things in this country, and we suffer from oppression. Y'all get where I'm going. At a certain point, it's like we'll be happy with symbolism, even if it means it's failing our children from developing and growing into productive adults. This one is one for me. Like, if we're gonna have the fight, then the fight should be, I mean, what are we really opposing? The fact that people lost their jobs, and Donald Trump, I don't know if he said it here, but he said, a lot of these people, it's sad, a lot of these people are good people that are losing their jobs. But you know what? There's a lot of good people that I saw getting cut on football teams that based on performance. It is what it is. Like there's, do you have more sympathy and empathy for the adults that are getting fired, or do you have more sympathy and empathy for the kids, the children that are trusting this Department of Education to teach them, to educate them so that they can be productive adults? But they're failing. 40% of the high schools in Baltimore, you just heard him say this, that the kids can't do math. Was it reading or math? I think it was math. Y'all heard it.
Not even the very simplest of mathematics. I said, give me your definition of basic. And they're talking about like adding a few numbers together. Despite these breathtaking failures, the department's discretionary budget has exploded by 600% in a very short period of time, and employs bureaucrats in buildings all over Washington, D.C. And as a former real estate person, I will tell you, I ride through the streets of Washington and it says Department of Education, Department of Education. I said, how do you fill those buildings? It's crazy what's happened over the years. I'm pleased to report that after offering these federal employees 2 generous buyout options, and they were very generous, and they're good people, but they were very generous. My administration has initiated a reduction in force, and we're already cutting numbers that were really surprising to a lot, that we were able to do it so successfully. And we've cut the number of bureaucrats in half. 50% have taken office, which is great.
Wow, in half, that's a lot. That's a lot. Steve wrote, I get why we need to make deep and meaningful changes to bloated, inefficient bureaucratic departments like DOE is a vital operation. But what backups have been put in place? That's a good question. That's a good question. Are the states ready for that full responsibility to be put back on them? I'll be honest, Steve. At a certain point, you got to throw somebody in the game. At a certain point, you're on the football team, and you've been a backup for a very long time, and to the point where you don't even prepare for games, right? You're the backup. Matter of fact, you're the third quarterback. You can just chill, relax, nobody's stressing on you. You don't even know what the game plan is, or maybe you do. That's one side of it. But now you got to get thrown in the game because the first 2 quarterbacks went down. So regardless of whether or not, we need to find out what we have in that third quarterback. We need to put you in the game to find out if you've been preparing the way that you should be preparing. What do the coaches always tell us? You need to prepare as if you're a starter. Even if you're the backup, you need to prepare as if you're the starter, because all it takes is one injury. You go down, now you're thrown in the game, and the rest of the team is depending on you. Now, did you do your due diligence to prepare for this moment? We'll never know unless you get thrown in the game. Now, the example that I gave is somebody not preparing. Another example is somebody who does prepare. Somebody who did the due diligence, somebody who actually prepared. They watched film. They studied with some of the older cats. They made sure that when that opportunity presented itself, they were ready to take advantage of it. Now, we need to find out either way. We need to find out what type of player we have on the team. We need to find out if the states are ready. It's not fair to the kids, in my opinion. It's not fair to the kids, in my opinion, when you're allowing, or you don't want to make a decision. You have a system that's failing the kids. But now, and I'm not saying that you're saying this at all, Steve. I'm not saying, and I don't think that you're saying this. It's not fair to the kids, in my opinion, to say, well, we're not going to get rid of the Department of Education because the state that these people get paid to actually do these things, we're not sure if they can actually do their jobs that we're paying them to do. The way I look at it, a lot of these superintendents, they're making some good money. I mean, I don't know about across the board in all school systems. I know the one that Montclair growing up is obviously one of the better school systems with funding, I believe. So people got to earn their money. People got to earn their money. And in my opinion, I think that more people will probably, when you put people in a position to where their standard, where more is demanded from them, I think that they'll perform better. I think they'll perform better. And either way, it's a necessary step. If they fail, then what do we have to lose? Like Trump said to black people a while ago, Democrats haven't done anything. What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose by trying something different? By putting it on the responsibility of the people who should be closer to the actual districts that are teaching. The states should have better relationships rather than just a blanket Department of Education with from a federal standpoint. In my opinion, just my opinion though. Maya wrote, what happens to Pell Grants and any other loans aid that college students receive federally? Isn't that from the DOE? That's an amazing question, Bub. And I think Donald Trump is going to answer you in this video. So let's keep watching a little bit, because I think that he's going to answer your question. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Steve wrote, I get you. I just want to know if we have a backup on the bench. Yeah, I don't know. Well, no, I know we have a backup on the bench. I know that we have a backup on the bench. I just don't know how they're going to perform. The states, we have so many, like all right, so I've dealt with the Department of Education in New Jersey before and spoken to certain people about different programs. There's a lot of people. There's more than enough people that are in positions to where, in my opinion, they can handle more responsibility. Now, that may not be the case, but what's so amazing about it is, let's say that certain districts need more. We'll figure that out. Because some districts may end up needing more support and more help. And they should be able to ask the federal government for that support. Other districts may not be needing the help. So I guess we'll definitely have to see. But with anything new, with change, with anything new, we're going to have to, it's a risk. It's a risk. Any change comes with a certain level of risk. In my opinion, it's worth risking, but we'll see. We'll see. Now, of course, we want to make sure that risk is as small as possible. But 40% of Baltimore kids, 40% of Baltimore high schools, let me say it again, 40% of Baltimore high schools have 0 kids that can do math at their grade level. That's insane to me. So I don't know how much worse it can get, to be totally honest. Shy in the building. What's up, Shy? As you're joining, please make sure that you like, and subscribe. We appreciate you joining us. All right, let's keep going. And like I said, I believe that Trump's going to answer your question, Maya.
Thank you. Under the action I'm taking today, a small handful of Democrats and others that we have employed for a long time, and there are some Republicans, but not too many, I have to be honest with you. But the department's useful functions, and such as, and they're in charge of them, Pell Grants, Title I funding, resources for children with disabilities and special needs will be preserved, fully preserved. They're all going to be so. If you look at the Pell Grants, it's supposed to be a very good program, Title I funding and resources for children with special disabilities and special needs. They're going to be preserved in full and redistributed to various other agencies and departments that will take very good care of them. And that's very important to Linda, I know, and it's very important to all of us. But
let me play it again. Let me play it again so everybody hears it. So everything he said, everything will be preserved as far as the Pell Grants, these other grants that he was referring to. We'll see.
One funding and resources for children with special disabilities. Fully preserved. They're all going to be so. If you look at the Pell Grants, it's supposed to be a very good program, Title I funding and resources for children with special disabilities and special needs. They're going to be preserved in full and redistributed to various other agencies and departments that will take very good care of them. And that's very important to Linda, I know, and it's very important to all of us. But beyond these core necessities, my administration will take all lawful steps to shut down the department. We're going to shut it down and shut it down as quickly as possible. It's doing us no good. We want to return our students to the states where just some of the governors here are so happy about this. They want education to come back to them, to come back to the, you know, if you look, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, I have to tell you, I give them a lot of credit. China's top 10, and so we can't now say that bigness is making it impossible to educate, because China is very big, but you have countries that do a very good job in education, and I really believe, like some of the governors here today, from states that run very, very well, including a big state like Texas, but states that run very well are going to have education that will be as good as Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and those top, Finland, those top countries that do so well with education. I think they'll do every bit as well.
Hopefully there's also some, competition added to it, right? Between these governors. Hopefully there can be some competition added. So hopefully you got your question answered, Maya. And hopefully now you're a Trump supporter. Hopefully now you're a Trump supporter. He said he's keeping the Pell Grant, so that was your concern. So I guess we all good now, right? We all good. All right. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. I got another video for you guys. All right. So we're gonna get into we're gonna get into this CNN panel that I saw, and they had our girl. They had our girl on there, Angela Rye. They had our girl on there, Angela Rye, and I think this may be a new this may be the new team right here. This may be the new team. Angela Rye going against Kevin O'Leary. So these CNN panels, pretty much, they're just, I don't know whether they've been noticing how many views Piers Morgan, if you're a fan of Piers Morgan Uncensored, or if you've checked it out, then you'll notice that Piers pretty much just gets people on and has them fight. Like, he's the guy now I'm talking about fight debating wise, but that's what Piers does. He's going to bring somebody that maybe pro-Hamas, pro-Palestine, and he's going to have somebody who's pro-Israel or Zionist, and he's going to have them get on the show, and obviously it's going to create for engaging television. I'm not going to say good television, but just engaging television. CNN may have created that between Angela Rye and Kevin O'Leary. Now, they don't come on a regular basis. Well, Kevin O'Leary comes on more. And this is what we have, but this is what we see all the time with Scott Jennings. But we're going to go through this panel. This was a very, very interesting panel. I'm going to skip past this part coming up, and they're going to show Tim Walz. So this is a conversation around a bunch of stuff, but we're going to start off with Tim Walz. And Tim Walz is an interesting dude, a very interesting dude, and he may not even realize that. Well, just look at the video. Why do I gotta give all this context around it? Just look at the video. All right, here you go.
Saying on my phone, I don't know, some of you know.
Aware of what Tim Walz said about the Tesla stock. Here's the clip, and then we'll get to Kevin O'Leary.
Saying on my phone, I don't know, some of you know this on the iPhone. They've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping. So, and And if you own one, we're not blaming you. You can take dental floss and pull the Tesla thing off, and take out, just telling you.
I just want to be clear. No one at this table condones violence, right? Setting cars on fire, breaking windows, whatever, all of that is bad. But the question is, is it okay for an American company to just be hated, for people to want it to not do well?
I think, go back to point one. When you set a car on fire, you should go to jail. You're a criminal.
Any car,
I don't think we have to
actually.
talk about it
not
in any
just
other
Tesla.
context. And all those cars have cameras in them, and those dealerships have cameras. You're beyond being stupid when you do that. You're going to go to jail, and you now have a government that just got their mandate. They can't wait to find idiots that do this. You're going to spend 5 to 20 years in prison. If they get them on terrorism, which I think is a stretch, they will have no parole, no shortened sentence. They'll rot in hell in prison for 20 years. And frankly, as far as I'm concerned, that's okay. Breaking in, shooting a car, setting on fire, nothing to do with the politics, nothing to do with Tesla. You are a criminal, and you should go
What about the broader
to
question
jail.
about the protest factor? You heard
What
Tim Walz.
protest? You're a criminal.
I'm talking about Tim Walz and his comments about the Tesla stock. He says it gives him a boost to see that stock going down.
That poor guy didn't check his portfolio and his own pension plan for state. It's beyond stupid what he did.
It's about the
Please listen to what Kevin O'Leary is getting ready to say.
Tesla stock. He says it gives him a boost to see that stock going down.
That poor guy didn't check his portfolio and his own pension plan for state. It's beyond stupid what he did. He's talking down a 3.5% weighting in his own pension plan. What's the matter with that guy? He doesn't check the well-being of his own constituents in his state. That's their investment fund.
Point,
what a bozo.
The Minnesota Tesla State Board of Investment, they have 1.6 million shares in Tesla in their retirement fund, 211,000 shares in a non-retirement fund. It's a relatively...
Yo, you can't make this ish up. Tim Walz is talking now. I don't know whether he's a stand-up, doing. Damn. Tim Walz is up here bragging about checking his Tesla stock and being happy that the stock is dropping, which is pretty wild in itself, especially when you consider, well, it's wild because when you consider the fact that of what's going on with Tesla, all this vandalism, people drawing swastikas, all type of stuff that's happening on Tesla vehicles. I think we played a clip from that yesterday or Wednesday. And he's on stage laughing at Tesla stock dropping, not even realizing that, look, the state of Minnesota's Tesla investment for their pension plan, they have 1.6 million shares in their retirement fund. 211,000 shares in their non-retirement fund. And he's bragging. If this isn't just a reflection of who the Democratic Party is, and I have to say that, and I'm talking about the leadership. This is the same thing that they did when it was, speaking of Tesla, when they were saying that Donald Trump signed like a $400 million or $400 billion, I think it was $400 million deal with Elon Musk and the Cybertrucks, and then we found out that it was actually Joe Biden, unless that was changed. But the last time I researched it, they were saying that it was Joe Biden, and they're reporting it as something bad that Donald Trump did. All right, neither here nor there. The point is that Tim Walz is just when we always talk about this term hustling backwards. Could you imagine? Could you imagine somebody being so First off, for you to not know that is one thing. But then for you to be so upset, you're rooting against a company that a lot of Americans have shares in, that is good for America, a company that y'all used to look at Elon Musk as him saving the world because of climate change, and he's doing all this electric stuff. So we're going to switch from that energy to electric. Elon Musk used to be our hero. Now you hate him so much and you're rooting against him, even if it costs you money, even if it costs the people that you represent in Minnesota money. Think about how dumb that is. Let's listen to this again.
It's beyond stupid what he did. He's talking down a 3.5% weighting in his own pension plan. What's the matter with that guy? He doesn't check the well-being of his own constituents in his state.
I mean,
that's their
to
investment
your
fund.
point,
What a bozo.
The Minnesota Tesla State Board of Investment, they have 1.6 million shares in Tesla in their retirement fund, 211,000 shares in a non-retirement fund. It's a relatively small amount, but that's one company, one single stock, and that's because Tesla is a huge part of the tech growth. But this is not the first time that companies have been in the crosshairs of protests. I mean, Republicans have protested companies all the time.
Yeah, Abby Phillips, she says, is it okay for Americans to dislike a company and want it to fail? Sure. Look at the Bud Light fiasco. But it is not okay.
All right, I'm gonna move forward beyond his thoughts. And shout out to the base conservative. Appreciate that, but I'm gonna skip past just for time reasons.
He tries to race bait.
Wish people would take a look.
Because Elon Musk is not born in America.
I don't condone violence, but I wish people would take a look in the mirror and see what's actually happening. This is not an America First company. It's a South African First company. That's what Tesla is. But this is the same party that talks about America First and make America great again, but they're giving someone unfettered access.
Yo, dude, this black dude funny, bro. Yo, first and foremost, a South African First company, like y'all are reaching when it comes to Elon. Why do we have to do so much reaching? If you don't like him because he's a weirdo, he comes across weird, he doesn't, people say maybe on the spectrum, all this, whatever reason you don't like him for it, then say that. Like all this other extra stuff that they throw in when it comes to Elon stealing my money, like stop.
Who is an immigrant, and if you leave it to this party to talk about, there's no space for immigrants.
No.
Some of us are here by force.
Some of us are lesser immigrants?
No, you're right. That's exactly what y'all think. That's exactly what y'all think.
He's a lesser immigrant?
No. What I'm saying is
he's tainted because you're from South Africa and he's really brilliant?
You know what is so funny about that? Y'all are also the party of the birtherism movement.
Wow, he's a tainted immigrant.
No. That's what you all would have liked to say about Barack Obama.
Where do I fit? I'm Irish Lebanese. Am I like second class or where am I?
You tell me, ask your party.
Wow.
I mean, let's go. Yeah, Ilhan Omar, also not born in America, and she is in office. Elon Musk is not. This is the American dream. You're allowed to be from another country and have a thriving business. This is the whole idea. This is why people immigrate to Western countries, to America, because of the opportunity. No one immigrates to other countries. No one's immigrating to Africa for the opportunity that they offer. No, they come to the world's richest, most prosperous country in order to thrive.
I get a kick out.
Which is my pick. Holding on. Get to the next clip with
that
about Tesla. Let's go.
I'm not talking about the violence. We've already established that. What's the difference between that and Tim Walz saying?
Let me catch up with the comments. My fault, Steve. Steve wrote, Walz just continues to come off as a pandering clown. It's just, but this is what we're asking for. When you look at these dudes that are in the Democratic Party, that they are promoting to lead their party. What about any of these guys makes young men, specifically, because they're saying that young men are the ones that change their vote a lot, and we're seeing a big shift where I was having a conversation, I forget with who, but they said that we're seeing a big shift where it used to be the kids protesting their conservative parents. Now it's the kids protesting their super liberal parents. I don't know, but when it comes to Tim Walz, these are just not people that you look at and say, I'm proud to be an American. Now, you may say that the same way with a lot of these other folk, but at least when you look at a guy like, I don't know, maybe it's just because it's not just how somebody looks, it's the things that they say, it's the tampons in the boys' bathrooms, it's constantly allowing yourself to be emasculated and going overboard to be pushing women to the fore. It's like, yo, y'all doing too much. Like, it's to the point where your pandering is almost insulting. If I was a woman, I would feel it with a lot of these leaders, but maybe it's not. Maybe this is just my opinion. Let's keep going.
I get a kick out of it.
First of all, Tim Walz is a complete moron to me. I have to be very honest, and I'm not surprised why the American people did not choose him. Nothing against the vice president. With that said, Elon Musk employs 80,000+ Americans. Most of them are working class people. The implications of the stock, let's say this were to continue on for another year, so I'm just throwing out a hypothetical. Will the company at some point have to decrease its workplace? Most of those people, I would imagine, probably vote for Democrats, at least some of them. So now you're impacting people who likely share your worldview because you disagree with Elon Musk. Don't buy the car. Just like those guys are saying, let's protest Anheuser-Busch, et cetera. We're just not going to buy their beer. I'm okay with that. But destroying public property, there is no place for that. I agree with Kevin. Lock them up and set an example that this is not what we're going to tolerate in this country.
Obviously, the violence is completely unacceptable, and these people will go to jail.
I don't know if it's obvious that the violence is unacceptable. Just being totally honest, I don't know if that's understood. I know that it's understood when Democrats are trying to call January 6th, or they're saying, or maybe it was, call it an insurrection. But I don't think that when I look over the past 5-6 years, maybe starting with George Floyd and what happened during that time, I don't think that that's been commonly accepted amongst the Democrats to where that violence is unacceptable. Just being totally honest. That this type of vandalism, all this type of stuff, taking over a police precinct, taking over a city. I don't think that that's just accepted as Abby tries to make it seem. Just my opinion. Maybe y'all tell me.
You can't burn a dealership and not get caught eventually and go to jail. But it is, again, the broader question here about has it crossed the line when people are sort of rooting for the failure of a company?
Well, first, let me say, until yesterday, I think I was one of the only Democratic elected officials to unambiguously condemn the violence and destruction against Tesla. I don't think you have to be tough on crime to do that. As you know, my grandfather is part of Gandhi's Satyagraha movement, independence movement. He said sabotage is a form of violence. I mean, this is not the best form of protest, and it's not the tradition. The second point is, I'm not going to root against Tesla. There are 20,000 people who work in my district who make a living off this. They're building.
This is what I don't think a lot of people realize. And the gentleman before this said it, and I didn't highlight it, and I should have. He hires, what did he say, around 80,000 people? Elon Musk, Angela Rye, who we see right here on the screen, is complaining and saying that Tesla is a South African first company. Let's say Tesla is a South African first company. Maybe this is an example of what should happen with other companies that have a base outside of America. You have to produce your products here. You have to bring your factories here. We're going to put tariffs on you to encourage you to bring factories here, so that way you can hire American workers who can then put that money back into the American economy. Maybe that's how it should work. It's the same thing with the Target boycott. It's like we get mad at people for the wrong reasons. Let's boycott Target. They're the #1 employer of black people. So yeah, let's all as a community go boycott Target. It's like, what? How does this make sense? Let's boycott Elon's terrible. He's South African first. But meanwhile, all his factories manufacturing. Look at how many people, American workers, he's hiring. If I was really South African first, I'd be trying to put those factories probably in Mexico or somewhere else, or in South Africa, where I may not have to pay as high tariffs, but I can produce those products at a much cheaper in the sweatshops that are allowed in these other places, and then bring them into America, not hire any American workers, but just take the American money. It doesn't make sense what they're proposing. We are literally rooting for the wrong people to fail. We're rooting for Tesla to fail for what? Listen to what this gentleman just said. He's a representative, Ro Khanna. I've seen him before. He's a Democrat. He said, why would it make sense for me to root against Tesla when Tesla's actually hiring my people? But you get people like Angela Rye. You get these other people who jump on here that want to criticize Elon Musk. Tim Walz. How many people do you employ? You are a government employee. You are a politician. You don't run a business. You didn't create a business that now hires 80,000 people. You're a pawn in the system. Who contributes more to the American economy flourishing, Tim Walz or Elon Musk? Let's be real. We're rooting for and against the wrong people because we are so emotionally engaged in this that we can't even think logically. It doesn't make sense. Tim Walz is bragging about this. People are celebrating it, not even realizing the worse Tesla does, the worse the American economy does, and the worse that the people in Minnesota actually do because Minnesota is so invested in Tesla.
Sabotage is a form of violence. I mean, this is not the best form of protest, and it's not the tradition. The second point is, I'm not going to root against Tesla. There are 20,000 people who work in my district who make a living off this. They're building electric vehicles that ultimately are good for the climate. I have huge, huge problems with what Elon Musk is doing. Have the protest and the conversation and criticism of Musk. Don't take it out on a company where you have workers, where you have engineers, where you have scientists, which are creating wealth for the country, which is helping the climate. And I think Democrats have to be able to offer common sense perspectives, focus on what the problem is with Musk. Don't focus on the wealth of a company.
On the other side of things, here is what the Commerce Secretary, the actual Commerce Secretary, is saying on TV just tonight about a publicly traded stock. Listen.
I think if you want to learn something on this show tonight, buy Tesla. It's unbelievable that this guy's stock is this cheap. It'll never be this cheap again. When people understand the things he's building, the robots he's building, the technology he's building, people are going to be dreaming of today and Jesse Waters and thinking, gosh, I should have bought Elon Musk's stock.
I mean, isn't it a conservative principle that the government shouldn't be picking winners and losers?
Why don't we?
He shouldn't be saying that. Just my opinion. Now, y'all just saw me pull up a video, I think last week, of Howard Lutnick and how he was schooling somebody. He was talking about Trump's involvement with, or Trump and Doug Ford, the premier in Canada. And I believe he was schooling some reporter on what was going on with the tariffs. I don't think that the Commerce Secretary should be telling people to buy a particular stock. Shouldn't happen. Shouldn't do it. Can't happen, in my opinion. Now, I don't know what they're, I mean, well, I'll play, a little bit more of this just so you can see how people respond, see if Kevin O'Leary's going to acknowledge this, see if the brother that's a conservative, see if he's going to acknowledge it. We got to be able to call it, we got to be able to call it objectively. This shouldn't, he shouldn't have done that. Now, what I think happened is Trump and his team, there's a lot of people on Trump's team that I do think appreciate what Elon Musk is doing. Elon Musk is sacrificing in a lot of ways. And as somebody that owns Tesla stock, yeah, we're feeling it. Just being real. So Elon Musk is sacrificing this position in order to do something for Donald Trump for whatever reason. People could say it's selfish reasons. People could say whatever. He's deciding to take the losses that are coming with his company. And he said that it's been very hard to run the companies as well as to do what he's doing in Doge. He's accepted that. But either way, so I think they're trying to give him an alley-oop. Maybe this is why Trump was doing that with the electric vehicles. Although that I was told, I don't have the exact, I wish I had the clip. I was told that Joe Biden did that with another car company. I'm not sure. But to each, doesn't matter. Lutnick should not have just said that. And we should be able to call stuff out both sides. If this side says something wrong, call it out. If this side says something wrong, call it out. I don't think that he should be giving people stock advice. Just being real.
We ask ourselves about the market. It's down 8 to 20%, depending on the sector you look at. Tech is down. Tesla's down. We're having a market correction. It happens every 18 to 20 months. And EVs are under pressure because of lots of competition, including from China. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so there's a reason. It's not just the fact that it's a political issue around Doge.
Well, then why is Lutnick saying? Why is he saying that if it's not about politics? He seems to think that it is, because he's saying oh, I'm going to use my platform as the Commerce Secretary to tell people how to buy and sell stocks.
Well, Howard's actually a private sector guy. He's well known.
I get that. He's got a government job now.
You know,
right?
and there's merit to maybe having somebody that worked on Wall Street for that long in that position. But at the end of the day, when people say, oh, Tesla's down because it's a political.
And you see how Kevin O'Leary, he didn't want to answer the question. I'm just going to be honest. Got to be real. This is why it's so important. Yo, just acknowledge if one side does something wrong, just acknowledge it. Look at how Angela Rye's looking at him. She's looking like, bro, you ain't want to answer that question. It takes away power from you. It takes away the validity of your voice. It takes away from us maybe believing the stuff that you said previously. You just said he's a private sector guy. Maybe there's certain advantages. Cool. He shouldn't be giving stock advice. Just leave it at that. You don't have to give people. I don't know. Maybe y'all see it a little differently than me. Let me. I think Steve had a comment. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, all of this type of rhetoric is designed to get folks divided and thinking with their emotions instead of with their heads. I agree completely. All of this. Like, I just don't understand why do we allow these people to divide us, to separate us? It's like we know the play's coming. We know that they're going to try to pin us against each other because it's in their best interest, but we still allow our emotions to go against each other. We still allow it. I don't know. Well, I think that's all. Well, I'll let it play for maybe 10 more seconds just to finish his thought.
Problem. I think it's a market issue, and if it has great performance and they deliver cars and they make money, the stock will go back up like every tech stock. What about Boeing? That's even bigger.
All right, we'll leave it there. All right, let me move on. Let's have a quick little icebreaker with Wesley Hunt. There were some comments that were made by Don Lemon, Wagwan, brethren. Shout out to Bez in the building. There were some comments that were made about, oh man, there were some comments that were made by Don Lemon as far as whether or not you could be a black person and be a rational, whether you could be a rational Black MAGA person. And Wesley Hunt, who's been extremely supportive of Donald Trump, I think he's worked with him in the first term. Huge supporter of Donald Trump. He had some words to say on it. So we'll just take a quick break with this video before we get into the next topic. All right, let me make sure we got this full screen. Oh, nah, hold on. I thought I had it pulled up. No, this ain't it. All right, hold on. Is that not the one that's playing? Oh, I'm looking. I got it open in two screens. My fault.
Wesley Hunt from Texas. He saw Don's appearance with Bill Maher, and he said, I'm a proud husband, father of 3, combat veteran, West Point graduate, Ivy League triple degree holder, and a U.S. congressman. You know how I achieved that, Don? By being a serious, rational person.
Let's be real. How many people with those same qualifications have been fired and called DEI?
Well, first of all, according to D.L. Hughley's argument, every single black person should be a Democrat. And I think that's utterly ridiculous. You see, we have a two-party system, and you need people of all walks of life on both sides of the party, and that's what makes this system the best you could ever imagine and the best in the entire world. And the reason why I listed my qualifications is because, quite frankly, no, actually, Kamala Harris does not have my qualifications. I'm a West Point graduate. I served my country in combat as an Apache pilot. I have 3 master's degrees from Cornell University, and I'm the congressman for a white majority district that President Trump would have won by almost 20 points, and I won by 26 points because literally people are not looking at the color of my skin, they're looking at my qualifications, and our party doesn't play that game.
So if you could say something to D.L. Hughley right now, what would you say?
I was actually a big fan of his growing up, and a big fan of his comedy, and I would love to actually have a conversation with him, a substantive conversation about this, because that's how we learn, that's how we grow, based on dialogue. And this whole thing started because Don Lemon made a carte blanche statement about all Black people, which is utterly ridiculous. And you're saying that Black people cannot choose the politics that they want to follow or choose the political party that they want to be a part of, because you want to silo them into thinking that we all have to be the exact same and think alike. We are not monolithic. We all have different backgrounds. We all come from different places. My military background is my father is a colonel.
And this, I want to use this opportunity to bring up another point. We talked about it on the last show, which I still hope y'all are thinking about, where I asked y'all the question: if DEI is so beneficial, then if I was a Democrat, I would be looking at it as if, okay, where is DEI maybe represented the most in an organization, company? I would probably point to the Democratic Party. And I asked y'all, I said, if DEI works so well, if it's so beneficial, if it's serving the people so well, if it's getting such great results, then why is the Democratic Party at an all-time low when it comes to approval rating and people being confident in the direction that their party leaders are moving them in? But that's not the point that I wanted to make. The point that I wanted to make is that DEI, we only look at diversity when it comes to the color of our skin. The entire reason why DEI is supposed to be beneficial, and when they look at the studies and saying that when you have a diverse group of people, that they're able to perform better, get better results, because they see things from different perspectives. They're able to bring different world experiences to the table. We understand all that. But when you only look at diversity as the color of somebody's skin, then what ends up happening is you prioritize that over the diversity of thought. So what am I talking about? The Democrats want DEI as long as you agree with everything that they agree with. You have a Wesley Hunt. Now he's not a rational Black person because he doesn't see things the way that I see things and the way that all Black people should see things, and that's through a Democratic lens. They don't want the diversity of thought. They don't want people that disagree with them. They don't want people bringing different perspectives and different experiences. They just want your diversity as far as appearance-wise, as long as you're thinking the same way that we're thinking. And this, to me, is why you get comments like Don Lemon, why you get comments like a DL Hughley, where people are looking at it and saying, like, comments like Joe Biden, you ain't Black unless you vote for me. This is why. This is why. So let's keep going a little bit with the video.
My sister is a West Point graduate. My brother is a West Point graduate. I grew up in a very conservative home. The left has nothing to offer someone like me based on the way that I grew up. And I'm smart enough to understand that and realize that. And I'm not going to continue to support the left if it doesn't coincide with the way I believe. We now have the right to choose whatever we want. And that's what I would tell DL.
Well, I think we can we can all, agree or disagree, but you got to respect that he's standing on it. He's standing on it. I tend to agree. All right. So now we got to get into this that I don't want to really talk about this, but it's, I think there's a lesson to be learned. So if you're looking at the screen, then you can probably assume that we're getting ready to talk about Dr. Umar. Dr. Umar's been in the news because, as he boldly claims, he's the most, what does he always say? That he's out of the activists, Black activists, he's a Pan-Africanist, but out of the activists, he's the most requested speaker and all this. We know who Dr. Umar is, right? He's a Pan-Africanist, and he is everything Black. Black people should be marrying Black people, all this stuff. Cool, that's your opinion. But he's made a case before about holding Black men accountable and blaming Black men for not standing on business in the household. And that's why women now have become what they've become in the black community because the black man has been failing. But then it came out from his daughter, and it was to the point where people weren't even sure that this was actually his daughter, because a young lady came out saying that, hey, you know, Dr. Umar, he says all this stuff and in public, but he's actually not taking care of me, his daughter. I haven't spoken to him, said he's never been to a birthday party, all that type of stuff. So now Dr. Umar is getting a lot of heat, and I don't think he's handling it the best way, but I think there's something to learn in all this, and there was something for me to learn in all this, and I'll share with you that afterwards. But it just reminds me of anything that you're pushing to the people, you got to be embracing in your own life, or it may come back to haunt you. So that was what I got from it. But let's take a look at what in Dr. Umar's words, why this was such an issue. I want to bring up, which clip am I going to show first? We'll start off here.
Black boys to be the, or when you,
hold on, let me get a share for you. Oh no, we already got it up. All right, hold on. I'm gonna rewind it just a little bit.
Meet a woman and you say, sister, I'm strong enough to be your man. You ain't got to work, or you ain't got to pay the bills, or whatever. Pull back.
Let me bring it back.
An African man from the continent.
All right.
You're going to have to understand that the way in which you talk to black men in America will not be tolerated over there.
Why the fuck is it tolerated? It's not tolerated here. That's what we're trying to tell them.
Well, over here, I want to say this to us, though. Because we try to act like the way sisters treat us doesn't have a history that we are not at least partly responsible for. Let's be honest. The black woman has had to hold down the black house by herself, although imperfectly. She's had to do it by herself since the mass incarceration of black males began in the 1970s. You understand me? Most of our children are raised by a single mother right now. And it has been that way for about 50 years. So when a sister says, I don't need a man, because she couldn't find one strong enough to hold her down. Or when you meet a woman and you say, sister, I'm strong enough to be your man.
Damn, Umar, all this sounds good. He's probably right. But does your credibility go out the window when then we find out that you're not taking care of your daughter, or you're not in your daughter's life? Now, we understand, and I think he said that the mom has kept him away. All that's cool, but you've never expressed that online. You express everything else. You call out everybody else's stuff. Does this take away from your credibility? And this, like I told y'all, there was lessons to be learned here. I had to look at myself. I'm like, all right, boom, okay. I need to make sure that I'm improving in this, improving in that before I'm jumping up here. So we got to learn the lessons from everything. But this is why it's good, in my opinion, to put this stuff out, because you create that standard for yourself that you got to live by based on the things that you're saying here. So maybe this will be something good for Umar. Maybe this situation will be the thing that allows him to get back in his daughter's life, allows him to reflect on maybe certain things that he could have done better. So, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it'll just help other people, but just something to think about as we're going through it.
Man, you ain't got to work, or you ain't got to pay the bills, or whatever. Pull back. I got you. And she can't do it because all the other men before you who disappointed her. So what I'm saying is, black men, we got to be patient with our women because we created that personality. We created that, and then we want to act like we didn't play a role.
We have to be held accountable for their poor selection.
No, you have to be held accountable. No, you have to be held accountable because they have a poor selection. See,
and that's actually a good question. Well, when I say, not saying that I asked a good question, but should he lose? And when I suggested that question, as far as, should he lose some credibility? I'm not saying that he should, but human nature may just cause us to do so. Dr. Umar could be saying all the right things. He could be right. And that's something that actually occurs a lot in life. For y'all, let me ask y'all this. Let me ask y'all the question. Can you take advice from somebody who may be right? Like you may be thinking that they're giving you the right advice, but you don't feel that they're actually living it themselves. Can you take advice from them? Should you take advice from them? Because that advice could still be valuable. I know a lot of unhealthy people that know a lot about health and wellness. I know a lot of, I'm not going to say I know a lot of, but I know there's a lot of people with a lot of good information out here that haven't been able to apply it themselves. But if you took their good information and were able to apply it, maybe it would be successful for you. I don't know. I'm just asking. What are y'all thoughts on it?
See, what you're saying, you're selecting a poor mate. And what I'm saying is they don't have much to select one. So of course you're going to.
And Eb, shout out to Eb in the building. And Eb, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, the truth is the truth, no matter the messenger. And this is why this is why I didn't want to touch on this topic. I'll be totally honest, because I think that in a lot of ways, you know, I credit Umar for some of my early stage, like, awakening 101, where Umar was questioning so many things, standing on certain stuff. I'm talking like 15 years ago, or maybe about 12, 13 years ago, when I'm sitting here. Umar was instrumental in my development at a particular stage in my life. Now, I don't rely on Umar now as much, but that doesn't mean that I should take away or ever discredit him for the impact that he did make at one point. I think that can be the case with a lot of different things. Kev Samuels. When I first started listening to Kev Samuels, I was listening to his videos all the time. But then naturally, I just kind of didn't need to hear as much. I just was like, not that I was against what he was saying. I just didn't need to hear it as much. Like, it's kind of like I look at it like, okay, I hear that to get me to this point. Then maybe I need something else to get me to the next stage, the next level. That's how I look at it. But it's the sad part is that the messenger does matter. And I'm not even going to say if it's sad, because maybe the messenger should matter, because we should almost be, it should force the person who's giving the message to live to a particular standard. Like, I think about it, it's easy to just go back to the health stuff. Or let's say you're on a team and somebody's telling you, hey, you should be working, harder, you should be doing this. But if they're not doing it, it's something, I don't know. To each their own. But Eb, I'm like you. I'm going to try to get the game regardless. Like, I'm just trying to get the game, if it comes in one source or not. But it's just, I don't know.
End up with a poor mate. And why is she going to end up with a poor mate? Because we as black men are not raising black boys to be the men that our women need. We are not. They out there killing themselves right now. What we doing about it? Unemployed black males, what we doing about it? Pants sagging, weed smoking, what we doing about it? Black men are not raising black boys to be the men our community needs. That is 100% our fault. What I'm saying is she got a right to be angry with us. She got a right to be angry with us.
I understand
we have not been on our job as black men.
I mean, according to Umar, based on what he's saying, then I guess we got to hold him accountable. I don't know.
The men are the providers. What have we been providing for our community? I'm not speaking you individually.
Yes.
Because you may be a damn good father. You may be a damn good father. You may be a damn good father. But guess what? What are we doing for the community? What are we doing for the children who don't have a father? You don't think the black woman got a right to be angry when she's been raising 2/3 of the kids by herself for 50 years?
Damn, Umar, this is Eb, and you said it, Eb, before. So Umar, it's like I'm almost want to save the combo that I was getting ready to say, Eb, later, because he mentions it. But Umar's gonna give an excuse later about the mom kept me from the kids, and it's like I don't. Umar, use your voice. Use your voice. And Umar doesn't seem like the type of guy that would take no in any other situation. So to allow this to happen, not speak on it publicly, it seems as if your daughter wanted to have a relationship with you, to just be totally honest. Now, the mom may have played a role early on, but I think that the girl is either 18 or 21 or something like early 20s. So, and the girl's pretty much saying, I want to have a relationship with you. His daughter. I'm talking about his daughter. So it just seems like, Umar, you may want to look in the mirror and give yourself this pep talk.
And the minute she raised her voice, we say she's not humble enough. She had to become masculine to survive the rape, the molestation, the domestic abuse. Are you telling me you can't see how we created that?
I understand that, but she needs
if
to
we
be
was
more
loving
selective.
our women and taking care of our women, do you think she would be like that? That personality has a history.
And this is why a lot of people say that Umar panders. Umar panders, especially when you're not living it out yourself. People are going to say that you pander. Let me play this other clip that I think this was Nick Cannon interviewing Dr. Umar, and he was asked why he didn't marry his children's mother. Let's take a look at this, and then we'll take a look at his most recent post regarding the situation.
My daughter's mothers felt they should have become my wife purely due to pregnancy. And I told them I would not make a lifelong decision about who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with purely based on pregnancy. I said we can continue to explore.
Yeah, hold up, man. Hold up. Hold up, Umar. Hold up, Doc. Nah, bro. Nah, you can't say what you just, I mean, you can say whatever you want to say, but I don't know. Are y'all help me out here? Is this contradiction? Is this hypocrisy when he's talking to the other young brothers and he's telling them, nah, this is men's fault. We got to be the fathers in our kids' lives. And now he's on Nick Cannon's show when he's asked about why he didn't marry his children's mother. I told them I'm not going to make a lifelong decision based on me just having a kid with you. Yo, let's run it back. Let's run it back.
My daughter's mothers felt they should have become my wife purely due to pregnancy. And I told them I would not make a lifelong decision about who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with purely based on pregnancy.
But you made that lifelong decision, and then you slipped up. Cool, but you got her pregnant. You know what I mean? Like, for you to, all right. So this is what I'm trying to say. For you to stand on the black man having to be that, not only the father role, but be that husband role for the black woman. For you to be pushing that and to be putting that blame, which I put on black men as well. For you to be doing that, and then to say that you're not just going to marry somebody and make a lifelong decision with these two women just because you have kids with them, is like, you should, if you're going to feel the initial way, then you got to make sure that you're being responsible to not get them pregnant, in my opinion. Because once you get them pregnant, that is a lifelong decision. Maybe you don't see it as that, but there's actually literally a life being, you brought two lives into the world. You brought two of them. And it's like, if you're not gonna, if your intent, if you're looking at it like, I don't want to marry these, maybe marriage isn't the issue. Maybe marriage he doesn't believe in. I don't know, but it's just not adding up. Like, it's not adding up for me. Maybe I'm just not good at math. Maybe the Department of Education just failed me, but this stuff isn't adding up.
I said we can continue to explore, to date. I would like to move in with you. We have to learn more about each other before we decide to spend the rest of our lives together. And they arrogantly said, it ain't going to work that way. I need to be.
Yo, he said this. They arrogantly said this ain't gonna work. All right, hold on. Let me catch up with these comments. So Shy wrote, "That's crazy." Just Joy, shout out to Just Joy in the building. That was backwards. Shaking my head. Maybe he changed his mind later in life. Yo, it just sounds crazy. Like, this is why I did not want to do this topic. Like, I kept putting Umar on the, I don't know if y'all noticed, I put him on the thumbnail for like 2 weeks straight. And I just never talked about it because I'm like, damn, like I don't know. This is
to explore, to date. I would like to move in with you. We have
I'd like to explore, to date. I'd like to move in with you. Umar, where's this provider and protector energy that you were coming with in the last video?
To learn more about each other before we decide to spend the rest of our lives together. And they arrogant.
We have to learn more about each other before we decide to spend the rest of our lives together. Maybe that's...
We have to learn more about each other before we decide to spend the rest of our lives together. And they arrogantly said, it ain't going to work that way. I need to be your wife, and I need to be your wife now. Had they been a little bit more patient and humble with me, either one, they would have became my wife. I don't know if they know that. They know it now because they're going to see this. Right. If they would have just been a little bit more respectful of where I was coming from, they would have got married. I would have married either one because...
So you went from blaming the men in the last video, but when it comes to your own life and the women that you had babies with, now you're blaming them. You're saying they were arrogant. You said, had they been more respectful, had they been more patient, then they would have got to marry the King Kong of consciousness, Dr. Umar, the most requested speaker. And y'all know what?
They were the mothers of my daughter.
That's a rough one. But we got one more video. So this is the recent video, and it's 21 minutes long. We are not watching probably more than 3 minutes of this. I'm gonna be totally honest. We got to move on. Yeah, but this is what Dr. Umar recently put out. Now, I didn't even show y'all the video where he said, hold on, maybe if I could find this video, y'all gonna laugh. He said that black men got to stick together. Let me see if I can find this video. Hold on. Dr. Umar, black men must unite. So I guess he was getting a lot of backlash from a particular group. And then he made the comment. Let me see if I can find it. He made the comment that black men, we got to unite. Let me see if I can find it. All right. So hold on. I got to play this for y'all. And it's on Anton's page. So it's going to have a lot of people in the background with the Zoom. But before I play this recent one, I gotta play this one right here for y'all. Hold on, because Umar, like in the first video, he panders to a lot of women, especially black women. That's the majority of his followers in a lot of ways. Well, I can't even say that's the majority of his followers. But if I had to look at who he tries to lead, I would say him, like the Democratic Party. I think a lot of the younger men are leaving his support, and he constantly panders to the black woman. I'm just in my opinion, maybe that's not the case, but that's what I see. Hold on. I didn't realize I'm not sharing it. Where's the... All right, here we go. Sorry about that.
I didn't want to marry Mama Smurf when she had my child. I didn't want to marry Mama Smurf after she had my child. And I damn sure don't want Mama Smurf now. So you don't need to be asking Mama Smurf if we in a relationship. Absolutely not. Any woman
just Joy, he said you don't need to hear
a man and his child has no right to be a wife to anyone. I'ma say it again. Black men, it's time to unite. Guess what I'm about to do for all?
Where my alpha males at? Who is getting sick and tired of being alienated from your children? What black men are sick and tired of paying child support?
Hold up, bro. Hold up. That energy was different in that first video, Umar. Now you want to unite all black men who've been forced to pay child support? Yeah. Because you got caught up and exposed?
And can't see your child. Where you at, black man? Give me some black fists. If you tired of family court, you tired of custody court, you tired of child support court, I'm going to start a movement. Oh, y'all done woke up a sleeping giant now. Y'all done woke up. I'm starting a black man anti-family court movement. We are sick and tired of being taken advantage of.
That's all we playing on that one. Now we're gonna move to the video, the recent video, and then we really got to move on. This is why I can't play Umar, because you get too caught up. He's too engaging.
We have to respect the sacredness of the African woman's vagina. No, I'm gonna go real rap. We must respect the sanctity and the sacredness and the divinity of the black woman's vagina. We must do that. Because if I look back, the situation I'm going through right now, brothers, I'm talking to my unapologetically African anti-snow bunny males right now. I'm talking to my unapologetically African anti-snow bunny males. The situation I'm going through right now is because at that time, 14 years ago and 23 years ago, I did not have the respect for the sacredness of the black woman's vagina like I should have. And the universe punished me for it. I'm being honest right now, family. Black queens, are you with me? I can admit to the black woman right here, right now in Los Angeles, the reason I'm going through what I'm going through is 14 years ago and 24 years ago, I didn't have the level of respect for the black woman's vagina that I have now. So I know that this is karma. This is karma. Even though I was done wrong, I could have never been done wrong if I didn't do wrong. Let me say it again. If I would have made better decisions, black men, young kings, listen to me, young kings. Listen to me, young kings. I don't want you to go through what I'm going through. I don't want you in a situation where your babies are kept from you because you didn't wife out. I don't want that. So you must respect the sacredness of your Shango stick. I'm not going to respond to the silly.
Oh, he got the wristband on. All right, hold on. All right, y'all remember when we used to wear the wristbands and stuff in high school, middle school, whatever? All right, so there's a lot going on here. Dr. Umar's clearly processing this. Cool. What I'm seeing is that he wanted to fight against the black woman and unite with the black men and create this anti-family court, all this. But then he realized, like, oh shoot, like I'm losing a lot of my black female supporters. Let me change this up. Let me apologize. Let me do it. Now I'm gonna take accountability for it. So if he's taking accountability for it, it took a little bit to get there, but I think there's things to learn from. I think there's things to learn from it all. So I don't know. Shout out to Mama Lay in the building. I didn't see you earlier. Yep, it's still creating a fatherless home. A lot of shaking my head, a lot of laughs. Joy said, I like to hear what his baby mama's got to say. A lot of laughs. The universe punished me for it. Yo, the universe will punish us. So I'm not saying that he's wrong. You know what's wild? You know what's so wild is that in all of those videos, from the first video where he's talking about, black men, we got to do better. It's our fault why black women are moving the way that they move, and because we haven't been the protectors and providers, to the next video. What was the next video that he's trying to? That wasn't the one where he's trying to unite black people. I think the next video was that the next video where he's trying to unite the black men against. Oh no, the next video was him saying why he wouldn't marry or why he didn't marry his baby mom. I don't know if any of I really believe him in all. Like I don't think that he's lying to me. Well, I think he's pandering, but I don't think he's. I think his brand is to pander, but I don't necessarily think that he's lying. And I don't even know. I don't even know what I disagree with. I'll be totally honest. I don't even know what I disagree with. I just know that it's a whole lot of hypocrisy as far as based on how he's living. And like I said, there's a lesson to be learned. So, I had to say, yo, when you jump up on here and you say certain stuff, you better be prepared if you're not living that life the same way that's consistent with the things that you say. So that's the lesson. Maybe I know that's my takeaway, my lesson. You know, you guys have whatever takeaway you have, and lesson can be learned from his situation. All right, so we have 2 more videos. This first one I want to play. It's a Megyn Kelly video, and it's just highlighting what's going on with Mahmoud Khalil. I'm not as familiar with this situation with Mahmoud Khalil. This is the student, I think the grad student that was going to get deported, was detained. He was going to have his case, I think the conservatives wanted it in Louisiana. He wanted it in New York. Now it's going to be held in Jersey. But here's a little bit of back and forth on it. And this is going to bring us into our final convo where we're discussing war. But I don't know. I don't know. Like I've been all over the place on my thoughts on this because I'm just hearing a lot of different things from different sides to support their arguments. So let's take a look at this back and forth between Megyn Kelly and I forget this gentleman's name, Glenn Greenwald. And let's just try to get an opinion on it.
I think knows my stance on this because I did a weekend podcast. If not, the short stance is I believe the government has every right to deport him, notwithstanding the fact that he's a green card holder and married to an American, which is really kind of an irrelevance legally. But the green card is not an irrelevance. And he's deportable under several different statutes. He's done a number of things that can get him deported. I think some of his speech is grounds enough, but he's actually behaved in a way that could get him deported. You can get deported for a lot of things, even when you're a green card holder. It's a privilege. It's not a right. And Trump had every right to say, you're out of here. And I know you disagree, and you think it's a First Amendment case, which I don't think. So explain why you think that and why you defend him in general.
Sure. I mean, first of all, you know, I've been defending free speech as probably my most important value, not just as a journalist, but as a lawyer for 30 years. I remember being inspired by what the ACLU did in Skokie, Illinois, where they defended the right of American Nazi Party members to march through Skokie, which was a town of Holocaust survivors wearing Nazi uniforms, even though the lawyers who did that were Jewish lawyers and they had Jewish donors. It was a very overwhelmingly Jewish group, and they still defended the right of free speech of the people who are Nazis, who only 30 years before had tried to exterminate Jews from the earth, because I think the principle is so important. And I've seen many times people say they believe in the principle when it comes to their own allies, and then suddenly start finding ways to justify censorship by saying it's incitement or it's something else when it comes to the views they most disagree with. And I think that's what is important to recognize here is the Trump campaign, the Trump administration made very clear that they intend to go after and punish in a lot of ways people who are protesting the Israeli war in Gaza or Israel itself, because the Trump administration are strong supporters of Israel. So we have to recognize the people they're going after have views that the Trump administration vehemently disagrees with. In the case of Mahmoud Khalil specifically, I've heard a lot of accusations about him that he is a supporter of Hamas, that he engaged in intimidation of violence. There's no evidence of that. It is true that some of the protesters at Columbia engaged in bad acts, but you can't impute those to Mahmoud Khalil. And there was, I don't know if you saw, there was Wall Street Journal reporting yesterday about who Khalil is. And a lot of the Jewish students at Columbia who are part of these encampments, part of these protests, and they did have a ton of American Jewish students as part of them, I've interviewed them, all stood up for Khalil and said, the reason he was the mediator between our group and the administration is because he's trusted by all sides. He has defended Jewish students before. If he hears an anti-Semitic claim, he'll denounce it. He's actually been at the Shabbat dinners that they were holding. I'd like to know specifically on the record what he has done that makes this claim that he's a Hamas supporter or incited harassment and violence against Jewish students justifiable, because I've looked very carefully and I don't see anything. He went on CNN and said his
he worked for
vision of the
UNRWA,
world,
which is basically a branch of Hamas. That's one thing.
Nah, basically that doesn't work for me. That's like the whole pre-diabetic argument. Like, well, you're basically pre-diabetic. No, you're not pre-diabetic. So, and I agree with Glenn on this one, where I just need to see some evidence. I just need to see some evidence for me. Now the government, they can do whatever they want, but I do believe that this can lead to a slippery slope This can lead to a slippery slope, and especially depending on your background, depending on your demographic, and your history, your group's history, especially when it comes to your race and ethnicity, you may look at this in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of Black nationalists that were seen as terrorists that, in my opinion, I wouldn't say that they're terrorists. And a lot of these people have been considered or have been made political prisoners just for standing up against the country and using different ways to stand up for Black people's rights. And they were made to be political prisoners unfairly, in my opinion. So I don't know about Mahmoud Khalil's situation. I've heard people say that he was attached to an organization that said that they wanted to destroy Western civilization. I just looked at an article where they're saying something that one of the groups at Columbia put up. Just show me the evidence. If you're saying that you want to destroy Western civilization, if you're saying that he said that, then that should be very easy to show us. Just show us it. Because if not, then I just think that it sets a bad precedent and a slippery slope for us to just be deporting people based on them not even disagreeing with America, but just disagreeing with and opposing what Israel's doing. I just think that that's kind of crazy. And that goes to maybe have the conversation that maybe we'll get into a little bit later when we talk about the wars. But I mean, clearly, when we look at our politics, and this is what maybe a lot of people don't realize when it comes to our politics, is that Israel does have a very strong hand in our politics. It just is what it is. Like, we got to be able to call this stuff out. Israel is the only nation outside of America that has the ability, correct me if I'm wrong, to lobby in our politics. Like, if you're not familiar with what lobbying is, a lot of times it's an exchange of money to influence politicians to push certain agendas. So when you look at, and Glenn Greenwald pointed out that Donald Trump has huge support from Israel, I believe that Israel is behind. I mean, Israel has supported a lot of the Democratic politicians as well. And I don't say that to say, well, Trump did it. Yeah, but they did it. I'm not saying that to say that. What I'm saying that to say that is Israel has a very strong influence on our government. It just is what it is. And when you get rid of somebody, try to deport them just because they have opposing views or are calling out something that's going on in Israel, between Israel and Palestine, I just think that that could set a bad precedent. And I believe that it's a slippery slope, especially when you're the party that's pushing free speech. Now, I know that that free speech has limits, but based on what I've heard, now, let me be very clear. I'm talking about based on what I've seen and heard. I don't know why he's getting deported or they're trying to deport him. I don't know why he was detained, but I may not have all the information. If there's information out here that says that he's been behind trying to destroy Western civilization, America, then yeah, you shouldn't be here. So you should be going through the process of whatever that process is, of if they want to deport you based on you being against the country and you being you trying to weaponize people to go against it, to cause terror, whatever it is, then just show us that. But when you just try to deport somebody based on them not agreeing with your stance on certain things, then I don't know about that. But I'm not saying that it's one way or another. I'm just saying I haven't seen anything. Maybe y'all have. And let's not act like we ain't just see those numbers drop as soon as I mentioned that.
Megan, the UNRWA was funded by the U.S. government for decades under both political parties. It's a part of the UN, and
but
I don't.
More recently,
I don't agree with that.
Very aligned with Hamas. You can't deny that.
I mean, if you're going to say that people who go work for the UN are now suspect of being terrorists or whatever, you know how many
UNRWA,
employees
yes.
of the
This is so if a group aligns with, like, what does align mean? let's say if there's a terrorist group that says that their people should not be getting bombed. I'm just giving an example, and it could be on any side. If there's a terrorist group that says, "Hey, I'm saying even if it is a terrorist group, and they are saying that they shouldn't have their kids getting killed or whatever they're saying, and another group says that they don't believe in kids being killed in this region, then they may align on that, but that doesn't mean that like now you're going to say that they align as if to say anything that other group, that terrorist group says, that now we're aligned on everything. So I don't know. And once again, just present it. Just present it. Like, show me what it is. Tell me what it is. For me, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that most people would understand if you show them, hey, these are the reasons why this person is a threat to America, is a threat to our democracy. Show it to us. Show it to us. And I now that I'm thinking about it, probably most people wouldn't just look at it objectively, but at least you'd have the information out there.
Of the UNR and of UNRWA.
Even Joe Biden cut ties with UNRWA because it was working with Hamas post 10/7. Even the Democrats did that. This is not a partisan position.
Well, Israel is not a partisan position. Joe Biden fed Israel the arms and the money.
Okay, let's
that they used to wage the war in Gaza. Joe Biden has long been one of the most stalwart supporters of Israel in all of Washington. Netanyahu has often said that.
I agree with that.
I want to move the conversation to this other video that I have, and I think even when we have a lot of these conversations, and I haven't seen this back and forth between Megyn Kelly and Glenn Greenwald, but it's just that it's a back and forth. I don't know. I don't think anybody's gaining anything when people are just making accusations and not actually showing, okay, this is what happened. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And my issue with it, and what I wanted to get into this video that I'm getting ready to show y'all with RFK Jr. is why what we're seeing is why I oppose war. Why I oppose war. So yesterday I was going through this kind of, I don't want to call it an awakening, but I was, matter of fact, I was doing a deep dive on, is war necessary? Is war necessary? And I think there's that term, violence only begets more violence. And I started just Googling different things. And it was based on the situation between Israel and Palestine, the war. And I came across a whole different, a lot of different things. I wrote down a lot of notes, and we see so many different examples around the world. Let me move this off the screen. Hold on. We see so many different examples across the world of violence, senseless violence in a lot of ways. And when I say senseless or useless or pointless violence in a lot of ways, I'm pretty sure that when this war is over between Ukraine and Russia, a lot of the people that died on both sides will say this was pointless. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people between Israel and Palestine will have the same thoughts. Now, whether the leaders who are out of the way of war, who are out of the way of harm, will acknowledge that, I don't know. But I mean, I guess the perfect example of it is we've already seen Israel and Palestine going at it. We've seen these things. So it's like, what's the, y'all been beefing for what, 2,000 years? Like, what's the end game here? What's the end game here? And I'll tell y'all, I went on this rabbit hole of just thoughts. And I was looking at Ukraine versus Russia, Israel versus Palestine, the Bloods versus the Crips, right? It's easy for us to say, like, yo, this is stupid. Look at these dumb Negroes out here beefing over different blocks that they're from. But then we look at Israel and Palestine, and it's like, yo, y'all in the same region. Like, what do y'all be? Democrats versus Republicans. Now, that's a little bit different. But even it got me thinking about Now, I don't know how I got on this thought, but with the reparations argument. And it's like for a lot of the people that oppose reparations, one of the arguments that they'll make is that, well, the black people, the black Americans that are here now, y'all didn't experience slavery. And the white Americans, European Americans, whatever you want to call them, who are here now, they didn't enslave anybody. All right, cool. But, and maybe this isn't going to be the same level of connection for y'all as it was for me, but then why are we justifying a war between Israel and Palestine that has gone back, what, 2,000 years they beefing over? Like the land was mine 2,000 years ago, 1,000 years. It's like, maybe we should use that same logic to shut down the reparations argument that we should use to shut down a lot of these other conflicts. How long are we going to have this back and forth? At what point does it end? At what point are we, what does a solution look like? Are we just going to keep killing and killing? Are other countries going to just keep providing weapons, providing support for both groups to just keep killing and killing each other? War, as soon as, it got me actually thinking about the Black Panther movie. And it's funny because the last time we were talking about Black Panther, we were talking about Dr. Umar, and he didn't like the part of the movie or the storyline of the movie where the black people, it was like the black people, and I guess you could call them Latinos, Latin people. I don't know what, Hispanic people. It's different because it's Black Panther, right? So a lot of those people, like a mother was killed, but then somebody else was killed before. But the Black Panther's mom was killed. So now the new Black Panther, the daughter, she wanted to revenge the death of her mother. But she ended up not killing the person who killed her mother because she knew that it would result in a greater war and maybe some other reasons. Dr. Umar didn't like that. So for me, it got me thinking like, well, if she would have killed that dude, then somebody else would have tried to come for her, and then it would just been a constant back and forth. So you almost have to sit back and realize, like, what are the only ways, like when we ask, is war necessary? Can we prevent wars? Some of the questions that came up for me that I was asking myself is, are you willing to forgive somebody for doing something to you or your loved ones? Are you willing to accept a lesser punishment? Because we're always going to see it as a lesser punishment, right? Somebody does something. Let's say somebody hurts somebody in my family. The punishment is never really, even if that person is hurt in a physical way, it's never going to add up to a justified punishment because I got somebody that's hurt or lost in my family, right? Am I willing to accept the courts handling it and them serving some time and, you know, maybe eventually getting out, or what? Are you willing to accept a lesser get back or no get back for something that was done to you and your loved ones? And if the answer is no, as soon as we say no, we know that we're now entering a cycle to where violence is going to continuously happen until somebody decides to say, nah, I'm not getting no get back. This is pointless. This is stupid. We see it in what, Game of Thrones. We see it in different neighborhood gangs in America. We see it Israel and Palestine. We see it in a lot of different ways. And to me, it's the first step into the destruction of the world, the destruction of humanity. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if there is an answer, but I just don't feel comfortable with what's going on. And I don't feel comfortable not voicing my discomfort about what's going on. So I want to play a couple different videos for you. One, starting off with this JFK video, and just get your thoughts on it. We're just going to kind of, let me be very clear. I do not support war. I do not support it because there's no good ending to it. this is not sports where one side wins and the other side loses, and they still get to live great lives, and oh man, we lost the Super Bowl, but we still made a whole lot of money. Life is still good. No, in war, you lose, you die, you lose loved ones. That energy, if you believe in energy, that war energy, the greater the war becomes, the bigger the war becomes, the more that energy is going to be put out to the rest of the world and impact the rest of the world. And I think that's what this speech that RFK Jr. is giving is basically on. Let's take a listen.
Is it any wonder that as America has waged violence throughout the world, violence has overtaken us in our own nation? It has not come as an invasion. It has come from within. Our bombs, our drones, our armies are incapable of stopping the gun violence on our streets and schools or domestic violence in our homes. I see the same link here as my father and Martin Luther King saw about the Vietnam War. They believed that we could not have warfare abroad without bringing that violence home to our attitudes, to our communities.
I felt like somebody from the heart was telling me this eloquent story that goes back to the 60s, 50s. And as a journalist, covered Iraq, I was in Panama, I've covered the narco wars. I mean, I've covered way too many wars for just one generation. So it was like kind of painfully nostalgic to realize that there was a point in American history when we weren't starting wars. And to have a politician today to remind Americans, I think it's really important to remind people of their own history, because it's easy to sum up history as one war after another, when in fact, often the wars are the aberration.
I have a sense of clarity and honesty from RFK Jr. and his uncle could very well have been the last president who I felt I could trust to pursue peace.
So I thought that was an interesting, now obviously that was RFK Jr. pushing this messaging for his campaign. I don't know if that impacts the way that we look at it, but I wanted to just play that and then play a couple other clips. There was an interesting conversation between Elon Musk and Jordan Peterson, and then I'm going to come back to this. But what is the alternative? What is the alternative? And it seems like we need an alternative. I don't know. What do we play, like a football game to decide how things get done? Maybe that's what it should be. I don't know. Or maybe we just develop certain morals and principles. But the problem with, and even as I'm thinking about it, the problem with excusing behavior and not punishing certain people is that you may be incentivizing certain behavior. But some people would say, well, nah, you're putting out energy that's not going to lead to a cycle of violence. I don't know. I'm just putting this out there for y'all because this is a question that I have. Maybe I shouldn't be concerned with this. Maybe I should just ignore it. Maybe I should just live my own life. I don't know, but it's just like, damn, like when we have disagreements, we just go back to, like, we advance. We never would want a Series 1 iPhone. If somebody handed us a Series 1 iPhone, we would sit in here like, yo, I don't want this trash. Like, that's trash. Like, I don't want that. I can't deal with, like, what am I going to do with this? But then when we don't advance in society as far as how we deal with each other as humans, like, we just go back to these barbaric, animalistic natures. So we don't hold ourselves accountable to advancing in this way, but we hold ourselves accountable to advancing in technology. You get what I'm saying? Hopefully I'm making that point. But it's just disappointing. It's sad and it's scary.
You know, William James said that the modern world needed a moral equivalent to war, right? He investigated the religious realm very, very deeply. And this, I think this was in the varieties of religious experience. And that really had an effect on me because I think that you need something akin to an existential threat in order to set you straight.
I think there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
So that was just, you know, I think that there needs to be, what did he say, a moral equivalence to war? We have to figure out an alternative. We have to figure out an alternative. We can't get caught up on this side is wrong, that side is wrong. Depending on what your life's experience, depending on what you and your people may have gone through, that may alter how you're looking at a situation and placing blame and justifying certain things. But at the end of the day, this is just my opinion. We have to figure out something else. Like, there has to be another solution to all of this, because RFK Jr. in his video, he's right. Like, you can't have war abroad, and especially us being involved, and then not to see that come back home. And we're seeing that with Mahmoud Khalil. Like, it still comes back to America, war in places outside the country. The stuff is still going to come back. The stuff is still going to impact. It's going to just set a bad energy. It puts out a bad energy and justifies something that we should not be accepting, in my opinion. We have to find an alternative. Let me play this clip, and I think this will be one of our last clips. I think, did we touch on everything? Well, I'll check that, but I'll play this clip while I'm checking that.
I'm always pro peace. Like, I totally understand the position of Palestinians who are upset and feel like they're just being, bombed out by the bigger dog. And it's never okay to support more hatred by saying Hitler was right. Similarly, it's not okay for Israel to be killing people in the amounts that they're killing them. And I know people say it's war, but we need to evolve how we do war then.
Yeah, exactly.
And I also look at what's happening and I'm like, okay, well, is this actually solving the problem? Are you not just creating a new generation of radicalized terrorists who are going to strike back at you eventually? So this is just my rough-hewn layperson perspective on it.
It is valid, though. It is.
But it's like, if you eradicate hate with violence, do you actually eradicate it, or you just suppress it for a later day? And that remains to be seen, but it just doesn't feel like a constructive solution to the real problem.
Is it any wonder that as
I agree. So just wanted to, I hate to end the show on that note, but maybe it should be top of mind, because we can't be accepting this stuff. We can't be accepting this stuff. And every time, we justify or we say this side is right, or this side is right, or this side is wrong, or that side's wrong, we're actually feeding into either side rationalizing their cause and rationalizing why it's okay to kill other people for their cause. So I don't know. It just has to stop. We have to do better. This is just a terrible situation that we're in when we're seeing all of these people die, killed. It's like, for what? What is it causing? It's literally just causing more war. It's causing more resentment. It's causing more hatred. It's going to lead to more destruction, to the point where eventually somebody just decides, whether it's God, whether it's the universe and a natural occurrence, whether it's whatever, whether it's God and man pressing a button to destroy the world, whatever eventually it's going to lead to the destruction of our people and the destruction of the entire world. And I think it's easy to kick the can down the road and to say, well, don't have to worry about that. It's easy for us to say that, but also a little bit selfish for us to say that as well. Because think about it. Each generation, when we have kids, we're bringing people into this world. And I would think it's an obligation and responsibility of us to bring kids into the world, bring the next generation into a safer world, into a better world, whatever that means. I would think this would be the priority. And I think that that's something that all of us would want to agree on, that we want to bring our kids and the next generation into a better place than we inherited. What better purpose could we have as humans working together when it comes to this place that we call home, the globe, the world? But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of stuck with this one. And I think that maybe we should acknowledge that we're stuck on this one, rather than just choosing a side and just leaning in, especially if it's just based on what political party we're affiliated with. Yeah, this is a problem. This is a problem for me. So, yeah, war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. I'm with you, Joy. All right, so let's wrap up the show. It's already 10:06. Don't want to keep y'all on past 10, so my apologies for that. But let's take the time to now have the most important part of the show, which is our 45 seconds of meditation, manifestation, breath work, whatever it is that you need to give yourself, silence, extreme focus, whatever it is that you need to focus on or put your mind on, travel to put yourself in the best mindset to hopefully accomplish what we set out on Sundays and Mondays to do, which is to make this our greatest week ever. Hopefully we've been putting ourselves in a position to compete on a Friday in the fourth quarter to make that happen. So 45 seconds, every breath, every exhale, we're exhaling all the negative and creating some space for the positive. So when we're doing these things, when you're taking 45 seconds, take it seriously. Take it seriously. Literally, every exhale, think about it as you getting rid of all the negative thoughts, feelings, anything that you have negative that's challenging you from becoming the best version of yourself. Create that space. So therefore, that positive energy, the things that we ask for out of life can be welcomed in. So if you're in a safe place, close your eyes. We're going to begin our 45 seconds now. All right, one more. Get a good exhale. Get a good exhale. So breathe in. Then we're going to exhale all that negative. Inhale all that positive. Y'all know what it is. Y'all know what we come here to do. Elevate on purpose, both from an intentional standpoint, raising our standards to become the best leaders we can become, to lead by example, to become the change that we want to see in the world. We're going to have to raise our standards and to grow and develop into the people that we need to in order to accomplish and set out to accomplish those outlandish, absurd goals. And maybe one of the goals is achieving world peace with humanity. So that would definitely be one of those goals that people say is arrogant, absurd, perhaps obnoxious. You can't achieve world peace. Yeah, all that. Let's just raise our standards and be the change that we want to see in the rest of the world. Strength and honor, onward and upward. Y'all know throughout the week, we're getting to that bag. Now, what do we mean when we say getting to that bag? Most of y'all know, but to those who don't, we're talking about all the little things that are going to add up and make sure that we're aligned with the proper trajectory of achieving our purpose as we strive for purposeful abundance. So y'all got to decide what's in y'all bag, what's in my bag. Peace, love, happiness, health, wealth, and in everything we do, integrity. Do me a favor, like on your way out, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Share the live with some friends and family. Share the live with some friends and family. And if I don't see y'all over the weekend, we may have our Soul Food Sunday. Not sure yet. But if I don't see y'all over the weekend, y'all have an amazing weekend. Finish out Friday. Finish out Friday strong. We owe it to ourselves, and we'll thank ourselves over the weekend by taking a second to relax, catch up with some family, and just regroup. All right. On that note, I'll see y'all soon. Ew.